Spencer Rattler is the New Orleans Saints starting quarterback, and make no mistake about it, he earned the opportunity. We got all of that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, I'll tell you a couple of the biggest moves that the Saints made, getting their roster down to their initial 53. Tyler Shough gets his opportunity to develop what that means for his career trajectory, and we're going to kick everything off with Spencer Rattler, who was named the New Orleans Saints starting quarterback and earned his opportunity. We got all that coming up for you on today's show. We appreciate you very much, whether it's your first time or your next time being here with us this time, making us your first listen, and being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Spencer Rattler will start the 2025 regular season as the New Orleans Saints quarterback, opening up at first up against his home state, also Tyler Shough's home state, Arizona Cardinals, and this is absolutely an opportunity that Spencer Rattler earned. I was somebody throughout this entire offseason that has said that I believed that Kellen Moore and the New Orleans Saints would name Tyler Shough their starting quarterback, even though it was clear that Spencer Rattler was in the lead when it came to the quarterback competition. There was a lot of dissenting opinion. There were a lot of people that were sort of building a framework around who they wanted to be the starting quarterback. We're all reporting on what we're seeing from the quarterbacks. And what we knew from the very beginning was that Spencer Rattler had created an early gap. And he held on to that gap throughout training camp. And then in the preseason, those two guys kind of started to even up a little bit. Just during the preseason, I would say that they were pretty tight with one another. But that gap that Spencer Rattler created in practice, in training camp, the operation, running Kellen Moore's offense, that was clearly enough for Kellen Moore to feel comfortable appointing Spencer Rattler as his starting quarterback. One of the things that I think is the most important, or that I think is one of the more important takeaways from this decision, is that Kellen Moore is making his own decisions. He's not being forced into making decisions based on draft class. He's not being forced into making decisions based on draft position or anything like that. He is getting things done and doing things the way that he feels are best. A lot of people talked about how, hey, Tyler Shough, 40th overall selection, he's going to be the starting quarterback. If Tyler Shough would have started week one of his rookie season, he would have been only the 8th second-round rookie since 1950 to start week one of his rookie season. This does not mean that the Saints wasted their second-round selection in taking Tyler Shough. The vast majority of second-round picks who have seen action in the NFL since 1950 don't typically see it in the first week of the NFL season during their rookie year. This is not something that the Saints should feel bad about. This is not something fans should feel bad about when it comes to Tyler Shough. This is all about Spencer Rattler winning this competition and doing what it is that he needed to do so that he could become this starting quarterback for New Orleans. Now, how long is the leash? How much will they give him? All those other things. Kellen Moore said during his press conference with us, which by the way was a surprise press conference. He wasn't initially on the schedule, and then all of a sudden he was. Which was kind of our earliest indication that, he was probably going to announce a starting quarterback. But he said that there's not going to be any jostling for position over the course of the regular season, that they're not going to kind of continue a battle throughout. Spencer Rattler will get all of his first team reps as the starting quarterback. He will get all of the reps during the training camp, or not during training camp, during practices leading up to these regular season games, and that Tyler Shough will run the scout team. That's kind of the way they're going to go about it. Now, remember, the scout team is what helped Spencer Rattler stand apart last year after Derek Carr had to miss all of his games last season. Even though he wasn't necessarily getting a bunch of snaps, he was running the scout team, and the scout team is how the Saints made the decision. You know what? Going to roll with Spencer Rattler, not Jake Haener, who, by the way, got waived. And so Jake Haener, as of right now, not a New Orleans Saint. If he clears waivers, likely that he could come back to the practice squad. But if he gets picked up somewhere, wouldn't be surprised to see Hunter Deckers come back. Another guy that got released was Easton Stick. He has a relationship with some of this coaching staff. He could be back too. But with all of that taken into consideration, Spencer Rattler is going to be the focus at the quarterback position. They're not going to split reps during practices leading up to games. This is going to be all Spencer Rattler all the time. And then eventually, I assume we'll see Tyler Shough go in there, depending upon how the season goes. But that's not always going to be a foregone conclusion. I think we likely will see both quarterbacks because, look, injuries play a part, all these other things. Like, there's a lot of different things that can kind of factor in. But the idea with Spencer Rattler here is that he is going to be put in position to start as long as he's producing as the starting quarterback for this team. And I think that's the right way to go. There's no need for him to be looking over his shoulder. There's no need to be doing any of that. And it feels like Kellen Moore, who, by the way, has been a quarterback in the NFL, knows how this stuff goes, and I'm sure knows how he would want things to look if he was in Spencer Rattler's position, is going to clearly do the things that are necessary to make sure that Spencer Rattler is treated the way that he would wish to be treated in that same situation. It is the golden rule after all. But Spencer Rattler completed over 70% of his passes when you combine training camp, team drill, 7-on-7s, as well as the preseason. He was a guy that emotionally, it felt like everybody rallied around. He led that great I guess it was a 2-point conversion, but it was the 2-minute drive plus the 2-point conversion that tied up that Jacksonville Jaguars game. There were a lot of things that he did very well, and he saw his first snaps with an entire starting offense for the first time in his career. He got one snap during the preseason with Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, Eric McCoy, and Alvin Kamara all on the field together because Alvin Kamara only played one snap during the preseason game there. But now he gets an opportunity to finally get that full first team around him and see what it is that he's able to do. Have an offense that's built and catered to him, that is tailored to him, and he gets to be the starting quarterback going into week 1 without having to look over his shoulder. That's a great situation to be in. Now let's see how he cashes in on it, right? Now he's got to go out there and perform. He said he's ready to go out there and lead the team. He's going to get that opportunity, and he'll do it with 2 straight home games at home in front of his adoring fans, in front of his home audience, which I think is going to be pretty good for him as well. There's been a lot of conversation around who people wanted to be the starting quarterback, who we thought were going to be a starting quarterback, who we thought the Saints were going to be a starting quarterback. Now all of that conversation is behind. It's never been about who people want. It's always about who earned the job. And from the way that Kellen Moore highlighted it, and from what we saw throughout training camp and preseason, Spencer Rattler earned the starting position, even though the cards are stacked against him. And I think that that's important to note. Very, very curious to see what this season is going to look like for the New Orleans Saints. And we're almost there with week 1, about a week away. So very excited for that. Spencer Rattler is your starting quarterback for the 2025 NFL season. Coming up next, let's dive into what this means for Tyler Shough, because it offers him a really comfortable opportunity to continue to develop. And we'll take a look at some of the biggest news from the New Orleans Saints 53-man roster being initially set. We got that coming up for you next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Me and the rest of the executive staff over at Locked On are going to be playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy this year, and you should be too, whether you're a first-timer or you're a veteran that's making your millionth league. With the season set to kick off on September 4th, now is the perfect time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers the most and many fun ways to compete. You want more ways to play? Well, try the new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues. They're super fun. Now, what it is that your lowest scoring team ends up being eliminated each week until one team is left standing. Maybe you want to play instantly with your friends. Well, try the new Draft with Friends mode. Prefer the classics? Well, no worries. You can still get your crew together and, of course, go head-to-head in a private league, or no crew, no problem. Join a public league, the fastest and easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off on September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league today. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Today's episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The clock is ticking. It's August 26th now, which is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for you football fans who live for your bold predictions and your preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, so your time is running out, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, or maybe you're eyeing some long shot division winners to tie together in a parlay for some big winnings, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champion here before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. You can take a flyer on MVP like Jaden Daniels. He's got some really nice odds going his way. You can go with the favorite, Lamar Jackson, right now, the favorite at MVP or amongst MVP voting, or you can even crown your Super Bowl champion in August. I really like the plus 800 you can get on the Kansas City Chiefs. Just visit the FanDuel app today and start picking your futures bets now, because FanDuel's Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. Now, he wasn't selected as the Saints' initial starting quarterback this season, but rookie Tyler Shough is still in a really, really positive situation with now an opportunity to develop and not hit the field until he's absolutely ready. One of the biggest things that you've always got to worry about when it comes to rookie quarterbacks going out there and starting right away, week one of their rookie season, is whether or not you're putting them out there too quickly. Are they ready? Have they fully developed? Do they understand your offense? Have they adjusted to the speed of the pros? Are they ready for the pros? All those other pieces. Now, the Saints don't have to worry about that. Tyler Shough had the tag of being the most pro-ready NFL quarterback in this year's draft. And a lot of times when teams say that, they say that about guys that effectively fall on their face, right? They said that about guys like Tanner McKee and Davis Mills and some of the others in the past. This, with Tyler Shough, gives him the best opportunity to really and actually be pro-ready when he hits a pro field. And I think that's a great situation for him. The New Orleans Saints invested a second-round draft pick in him, which, as we highlighted earlier, doesn't mean that they needed to rush him out during his rookie season, but does mean that they believe highly in him as somebody that can be a big part of their future at the quarterback position. And so with that being the case, you eventually want to get him out on the field, and your hope is that when you put him out on the field, he's ready to go enough that he can stay out on the field for you. And I think that the Saints are going to be closer to getting that done with Tyler Shough now, that they're not going to be rushing him out there week one. And for Tyler Shough, it's just an excellent opportunity to avoid some of those early stumbles. Once he eventually hits the football field, there's going to be growing pains. But those growing pains, if they come in week 13 or week 12, whatever's after the bye week, are going to look a lot different than if he hit the field week one. So this sets him up a little bit differently. And if he doesn't see the field until 2026 or beyond that, then his growing pains are going to look a lot different than they would week one of the 2025 NFL season. So for the Saints, I get the idea. Now, I also understand that he's 26, about to be 27 years old or whatever it is. And so because of that, you do want to get him out on the field sooner rather than later. And so what we've talked about from the very beginning is that when it comes down to the Saints quarterback battle during this preseason, during training camp, that it was a Saints quarterback battle for week one, right? Nothing is solidified for the future. We don't even know if these two quarterbacks will be the only quarterbacks we're talking about going into 2025. You'll remember, or 2026 rather. You remember last year we were talking about quarterbacks behind Derek Carr and who could be, who was going to be the starter, Jake Haener or Spencer Rattler. And one of the things that I said was that when we got to 2025, highly unlikely that Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler were the only two quarterbacks we were going to be talking about. Enter Tyler Shough. So now Tyler Shough, you have the opportunity going into 2026, and you'll see if there's going to be another quarterback that ends up as a part of that conversation, depending upon how high the Saints end up drafting in 2026. The thing that we preached from the very beginning, since Kellen Moore became the New Orleans Saints head coach and it became clear that the Saints were undergoing that rebuild that they have desperately needed for so long, is that patience was going to be the most important aspect of this season. And having patience with Spencer Rattler as he goes out there as a starter, having patience with Tyler Shough as he develops in the background, all of that's going to be very important for this New Orleans Saints organization. And look, nobody expects this team to be particularly impressive through its first 5 games. And so when the Saints struggle through their first 5 games, assuming that they do, they could surprise and come out like gangbusters over the course of the first couple of games like they did last season. And then once people kind of see the tape, finding ways to be able to, defenses finding ways to adjust to them, whatever it might be, injuries, all that stuff is going to factor in. But if the Saints struggle through the first 5 games, do not be surprised when we're not coming on to our shows or writing in our pieces that the Saints need to bench Spencer Rattler, because patience has been the virtue going into this season. When the Saints decide that they want to make a quarterback change, and if the Saints decide to make a quarterback change, they will do that. They will do that if they make that decision. But I do not expect the Saints to overreact to struggling against very good opponents when your team is an okay roster right now that has some legitimate pieces, but you're also learning a new offensive system, a new defensive system. You have a new starting quarterback, a new head coach, new play callers, all those other things. With all of that taken into consideration, if the Saints struggle early, it's going to be because of those things. No one's going to start throwing it immediately on the quarterback unless it is blatantly on the quarterback. Then, of course, you'll hear us say that. But don't be surprised when people aren't calling for Spencer Rattler's head 5 weeks into the season when the Saints are 1-4 or 2-3 or something like that. Honestly, 2-3 would be great for this team. And so we'll see where things go. It's not a lack of faith. It's just an understanding of where this team is. It's not a lack of belief, although my job is not to believe. My job is to tell the truth. This is the expectation for this team. This is the outlook for this team right now, although the aspirations and the goals are certainly much higher. And that will, of course, be the case for Tyler Shough as well as he continues to develop. Okay, couple of standout moves for the 53-man roster. In tomorrow's episode, we'll fully break down the 53-man roster. We won't list the whole thing. That's boring, but we'll kind of go through some of the highlights there for you. But a couple of things that we'll hit again and kind of go deeper in, but I want to highlight here today that I don't want you to miss out on: the Saints trading for offensive lineman Asim Richards from the Dallas Cowboys. My guys over at Locked On Cowboys really liked this player. They felt like he was really ready in case Tyler Guyton went down, that they would be able to potentially go to him. Played 204 snaps last year at left tackle and is a guy that at 6'4", 307 pounds, probably has some versatility as well, can play guard and tackle, I imagine. But on top of that, gives the New Orleans Saints some much needed tackle depth. Landon Young goes to injured reserve. His season is over. Barry Wesley, the only other backup tackle on the roster, also gone to injured reserve, although he's designated to return, though I don't know how much help he's going to bring you. And so getting a guy like Richards for a late round, 6th and 7th round pick swap for 2028, literally the last picks you can deal with in any draft at this point. Excellent move by New Orleans to get some tackle depth out there. And so that will certainly be helpful to them. I mentioned Jake Haener being waived. Isaiah Foskey also waived. So that's a couple of draft picks, a 2nd-round draft pick and a 4th-round draft pick from that 2023 class. The only 2023 class members remaining is that 1st-rounder in Brian Brzee, who's a starter, 3rd-rounder Kendre Miller, who's the 2nd running back this year, and then you're looking at Jordan Howden, the 5th-round pick who made the roster here, the initial 53. So that 2023 draft class has been gutted, and so we'll see how things move forward with when it comes to that class. Could Jake Haener make his way back here? Sure. They've offered him a practice squad spot to my understanding, but I would be surprised to see him go and try to look for an opportunity elsewhere, understanding, the situation here and the Saints going with Hunter Deckers. The only real surprise to me, they moved on from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I wouldn't be shocked to see him back on the practice squad. We've talked about that for weeks, so that would be an easy move to make if they needed some numbers on their roster. They clearly need some numbers on their roster right now. But the only other surprising move for me was Fadil Diggs. Fadil Diggs getting let go, being moved on from. He was not the 7th-round pick that I expected the Saints to do that with. And then Trayton Welsh being moved on from as well. I expect both of those guys will be back on the practice squad. Trayton Welsh was offered, according to what I've been told, a practice squad spot if he clears waivers. I wouldn't be surprised if both those guys, Diggs and Welsh, clear waivers. Again, teams mostly focus on getting their own guys back. And so we'll hit a couple more of those conversations tomorrow. We'll break down a couple of the more interesting position groups and look at 3 names on the market that I think could be interesting to New Orleans. We've talked about Audric Estime, so I'll throw him out there. But Greg Dulcich, a really athletic and interesting tight end, could be in the Saints' sights as well. And we even got an update on Asante Samuel Jr. and how things are going for him. We'll go into all of that in tomorrow's episode, but just wanted to focus on the quarterbacks here for you for this emergency edition of Locked On Saints. We'll see you tomorrow. We appreciate you very much as always, making us a part of your day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me on the show. If you see me, please say hi. If you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you're living. Let me know how you're momming them. And trust Who Dat Nation. I'll holla at you.